touched on an important statistic, which is online purchases in Ireland are going up at a dramatic pace. So forecasted to grow from roughly 3.5 billion today to nearly 6 billion by 2016. But well over 70% of those purchases are to foreign websites. And the UK and the US capture over 50% of that volume. And so one of the things as we think about optimizing our transactions for the different devices, we need to be thinking about that in the context of preserving Irish business. And if these trends continue with the international trend, it really has a potential to undermine job creation in this country and economic growth in this country. And I think Ireland's in a very unique position because we do have quite a unique ecosystem of technology-based organizations here and quite a unique skill set in the country, coupled with the fact that we're English language speaking. There's no reason why the tables shouldn't be reversed, and we should be getting a disproportionate share of the purchasing from the UK being exported from Ireland. And I really think that we have to transition our thinking as businesses and organizations to help enable that to happen, because it's 3 years is not a long time. And once that momentum gains too much velocity, it'll be very, very difficult to turn it around.
It is all down to the time of interaction. When you say mobiles, I suppose you talk about both tablets and smartphones. And the two are two completely different worlds, because typically the users would interact with them in a completely different way. You would use a tablet when typically you have either a table or you're sitting down, okay? You typically are standing when you use a smartphone. So the time of interaction is completely different, as I think I pointed out before. So from the general commerce perspective, to make the mobile interaction, the smartphone interaction are quick, okay? And typically don't last more than 2 or 3, 4 minutes max, okay? So whatever you can cram in those 4 minutes typically, works well. If it's something that you need to do, but it has to be quick. So typically a purchase of any sort goes through a process of me finding out, about a specific product, comparing that, and then finally deciding that I want to buy it. Now, the whole process of looking products up and making up my mind is hopeless on a smartphone. There's Amazon there, there's everything. But the reason why Amazon is there because they want you to buy on the smartphone. So this application only kicks in once you made your mind. And maybe you didn't have time to click the last button to buy it, okay? So a buying decision typically is very, very difficult to compress into a smartphone interface. But the act of buying and the specific event that happens when I decide to go for something, that can be on a smartphone, okay? Because it's quick. I said, oh yeah, I know which one I want. I know I want that book. Then I fire up Amazon, it's this one, to this address, goodbye. So it is all down to the time of interaction.
I agree with what Paolo says. It's about transaction type. You can think of some things you need to buy that are just point and click, and others that require quite a lot of data entry. But we had an information exchange with Google recently, of some of our friends from Google Dublin, and I'm struggling to remember the statistic, but well over half of the websites in Ireland were not optimized for mobile devices. So I think Paolo's right. I think there'll always be a division of labor and just how much convenience there is in clicking. But huge amounts of websites are just the old website rammed into a tablet or a Samsung S3. And frankly, they just don't work properly. Frames are all out of sync, boxes don't render properly. So I think the percentage of e-commerce on smartphones is going to rise, and for sure. I think as websites become more mobilized, that will actually be a catalyst for it. But I do think there will always be some level of convenience that you would just want to sit at the kitchen table with a larger screen and actually spend some time about the purchase consideration.